Now, there's a teacher who had me in her classroom 43 years ago. 43 years ago. I don't think it was about me. That's the point. I think it's about her. And I think that there were probably a lot of kids that she had over that course of time who are still 43 years later in her memory because she invested so much of her life and herself in us. And so, you know, who are great teachers? You know, I loved her then. I remember her. I remember walking into her class the first day, and when my mother dropped me off, crying like crazy because I didn't want to stay. I want to go home with Mom. I didn't want to stay. And she had a great class. And as I went up in that elementary school, everybody always wanted to have her. She was not married at the time. That's why I didn't recognize the name. It was Miss Lukmeyer. I remember Miss Lukmeyer like it was yesterday. And now her last name is Welch, and she's living in Georgia. Those are great teachers. And we need to reward those people. And I said at this event we had earlier this week that I think every one of those great teachers that Geoff described, I think parents in most neighborhoods would be willing to carry those teachers on their shoulders to school every day if they knew that those teachers were going to be in front of their children in their classroom teaching them. But by the same token, the reason there's an imperative, like Geoff said, is that imagine we went to back to school night. Mary Pat and I went to back to school night. We have 4 kids between 7 and 17. So we went into back to school night, and we have them in 3 different schools, and they all scheduled back to school night on the same night. Thank you very much. So we're running around like crazy at all these different schools. We went into my daughter Bridget's 2nd grade class. She's 7. And we had this teacher before, so we knew she's a wonderful teacher, and we were really excited that Bridget got her too. But I was thinking to myself, because this was when I was leading up to all the activity we've had in the last week, like what happened if the principal had walked into school that night and walked into the class before the teacher was and said to the parents, listen, hi, this year, your 2nd graders are going to have Mrs. Smith. Now, you know, Mrs. Smith is just not that great a teacher. She just isn't. She's not doing really well. She said, but, you know, we're working with her. I don't have a lot of hope that she's going to get better, but we can't fire her because, you know, we got this teacher contract that the union won't let us fire her. And since we're paying her, we figure we might as well have her do something. So she's going to teach your kids this year. Best of luck. Have a great year. And walk out, right? You go berserk, right? You say, this is my daughter's only year in 2nd grade. And if she doesn't learn in 2nd grade, what the hell's going to happen to her in 3rd grade and 4th grade? And she's always going to be behind unless she gets a super teacher that drags her up 2 years in 1 year. And so we can't accept this. And I think what Geoff is talking about is our unwillingness as a public anymore to accept that as being what we must take for our kids. That's what I think we have to change. So, you know, we suggested a whole bunch of reforms, the core of which are about accountability and saying that teachers shouldn't be paid just for breathing. Okay? I mean, that's what the pay scale is now. You get bumped up by seniority. So you're here this year, you teach, like Geoff said, you did a lousy job, the kids all failed, and we say, hey, it's September, you breathing? Yeah, okay. You're back with a raise, you know? You're getting stepped up. We're saying in New Jersey from now forward, what we should do is say teachers are going to be held accountable like everybody else for the progress of their students. Not for the absolute number of how they achieve, but for the progress of their students. And we need to test kids that way, and we need to hold teachers accountable for that. And for those teachers who do great, they should make much more than they're making now, because we want them to stay. We want to keep that stamina. We want them to feel rewarded and valued, and we should pay them more. And for those teachers who don't succeed, we invite them to pursue another career. Because it doesn't mean, like Geoff says, doesn't mean they're a bad person. It doesn't mean they're not trying hard. I mean, some of them aren't. But some of them are, just aren't good at it. That's okay. I mean, you know, we have to, though, not accept that as being what we need to do for our kids. And so we talked about a lot of reforms Tuesday. We're putting out a plan today, too, which I'm not going to waste your time with at the moment. You can read about it, about how we're going to make charter schools in New Jersey even better than they are now and more plentiful than they are now. and we have to do things like multiple authorizers and allow there to be specialization in charter schools, things that we don't have available to us right now in New Jersey. We have a pretty good charter school law in New Jersey, but we don't have a great one. And if we adopt these reforms, they're going to be great charter schools in New Jersey and more of them than we had before. And the bottom line is this, though. You know the forces that are arrayed against us in trying to stop this reform. And people asked me today at a press availability earlier today, well, how do you combat that? And I said, that's why I'm coming to talk to these people. Because I'm only going to be able to change it if you help me change it. And even then, we're all going to be doing it together, and step by step, bit by bit. And so that's what this is all about. And I thought, after spending a lot of time with Geoff over the last week or so, that having him here with me today to give you an example of what is possible gives hope. And hope is the greatest gift that we can give to each other, is that today is not the best that we could think of, that tomorrow can be better. And that's what we want for our kids, is for them to feel that way too. And so we have a microphone there in the middle. We've got